Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the updated digital MP4 player, which you can find on Amazon in the links below for about 30 to 40 bucks, depending on the capacity that you choose. Now, compared to the older ones that we saw last year, sold by people like G.G. Martinson, an Amazon seller, this one does have a much more original design. It doesn't try to imitate the iPod Nano series in any way or form, which I'm pleased to see because it feels a lot more solid and also seems a lot more authentic to the product, which is nice to see. So taking a quick look at the hardware first, we still have the same 1.8-inch TFT LCD display, which is pretty glossy and does attract a fair amount of fingerprints. Down below there is a control pad, which includes a four-way navigation toggle with a play-pause key in the center, and the top menu key, and also a back key. These two down below aren't buttons, they're just for decorative purposes in terms of symmetry. On the bottom here, you have access to a 3.5mm headphone jack, a built-in microphone for recording quick voice memos, and there's also a micro USB port for charging and syncing. So finally, we have the updated standard port. In the past, these digital MP4 players used the mini USB, which was the last generation standard. So again, this is one of the steps they've taken to modernize this design. Still charges in about 2 hours, and it's a slightly faster speed in terms of connecting with a computer, Mac or PC. No drivers are needed for transferring files. You just plug it in and then drag and drop. You can also use it as a thumb drive or a hard drive, of course, and this one in particular has 16 gigs of built-in flash storage and has an FM radio antenna integrated as well. On the back, there's also a micro SD card slot for further expanding the memory, which is nice. So you get 16 gigs built in addition to any card you want to insert for a larger capacity. It supports up to 64 gigabytes. So turning the unit on, you tap on the center key here, and the battery life is decent. It lasted me roughly 2 weeks before I needed to recharge it again, so it's going to be great if you want to listen to audiobooks or let's say a few songs when you're exercising. You can see here that the screen itself is pretty bright, but colors are definitely muted and slightly washed out. They have a bluish tint to it. Not that it really matters as a music player, but if you're watching some video clips, it does become not as enjoyable as it could be. Otherwise, there's also features on here like the aforementioned FM radio, digital voice recorder. You can view back JPEG images, use it as a mini photo keychain or a photo frame, setup, and then ebooks, which is a text viewer, and finally a few preloaded games. Still the same menu we saw on the last generation G.G. Martinson MP4 player, so the firmware is the same. So the actual music interface, tap on the M key to enter. You can see here there's a graphic equalizer like setting. The battery status is on the very top, also volume status, things like for looping, the equalizer in terms of the normal or enhanced bass, so on and so forth. There's also the title of the song down below, and also the recording quality. There isn't support for cover art on this MP4 player. So going back home, you tap on the M key for a few seconds, and afterwards we can check out the video player. It actually supports MP4 files now in addition to AMV files, so it's a little bit better than past iterations which were quite picky in terms of which files could work. Again, because the actual device has a display that kind of washes out when you tilt it, not the most enjoyable experience, and it's a little bit pixelated, but at least it's on board and you can watch a few quick clips if you are bored when on the go. Next feature is the aforementioned voice recorder. Decent microphone on here, good for a quick memo or two, but it's not noise canceling and does tend to pick up some extra sounds like noises, muffling, the wind if you start to move it. So not the cleanest or most crisp sounding voice recorder in the world, but a decent one if you need one. FM radio, same thing here. You need to use the built-in headphones as the antenna, so plug that in before you listen to it, and then you can tap on the keys to scan through nearby channels to automatically remember the channels that you last listened to and has the clearest reception to. So the photo player here, the photo application is pretty no frills as well, shows off the capabilities of the display, and it's an additional feature on board. Not too much to write home about. I will say that the animation seemed to be a little faster, so I suspect that the processor on here has been slightly improved, maybe slightly faster, so that's why things seem to be a bit more responsive and snappy compared to the last generation model. In the setup, you can change things like when the display powers off to save battery, the memory information, firmware information, so on and so forth. And finally, taking a look at the gaming functionality on board. There's just one game, Boxman. So this seems to be the trend with most of these MP4 players now. They have only just one. You have to move these 4 boxes to the red dots, and it gets progressively more difficult. It also times you to see how long you take to complete the game. So anyways, this has been a quick video first look and quick review of this updated version of the digital MP4 player. I think this is the strongest iteration yet, just because the design is quite attractive. It looks fancy. It's made out of a one-piece aluminum with some accents on the top crafted out of polycarbonate. It feels nice in terms of the overall fit and finish. There's expansion ports which are in addition to the built-in storage, which you can't actually remove. And there's also updates like a micro USB port, which offers an easier ability for you to charge with pre-existing peripherals if you have an Android or Windows phone laying around, and it's also a bit faster to sync up with a computer. You can check out more details about this unit in our official written review, but this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Review.